excitement, and the lineup is so strong. And this
lot, and hopefully I'll go and catch this movie as well sometime very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a wrap on India Matters. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow at the same time. The news continues with Marya after this.
Vanakkam Tamil Nadu.
Now the battle for Tamil Nadu 2026 is open now.
After Chief Minister Stalin rolls up his sleeves.
And Vijay steps in as a star challenger.
This is a mass gathering, not for cash.
Meanwhile, a former Chief Minister, Edapadi Palanisamy, begins his fight back.
The big comeback campaign by EPS has well and truly begun.
These are all the ultimate players, and this is going to be the ultimate test.
बदलाव की इच्छा रखने वाले लोग, उनको ये तय करना है कि वो जनसुराज जैसे नए विकल्प को चुनते हैं कि फिर पिटे पिटाए अपनी पुरानी व्यवस्था में जाना चाहते हैं।
मैं चिराग पासवान पूरी तरीके से बिहार विधानसभा का चुनाव लड़ने के लिए तैयार हूँ।
कि जैसे जी मुख्यमंत्री बने हैं, हमारी पूरी सपोर्ट है उनको। हम किंग मेकर की भूमिका में रहना चाहते हैं।
ये लोग घर से बाहर नहीं निकल पाते।
प्रधानमंत्री जी को बताना चाहिए कि इनका जो बिहार में जो सरकार है, 50% जो नीतीश जी की मंत्रिमंडल में जो लोग बैठे हैं वो परिवारवादी लोग हैं। वो अपने आप को भी परिवारवादी बोले।
जंगल राज लाने वाले मौका देख रहे हैं, अपने पुराने कारनामे करने का मौका ढूंढ रहे हैं।
This is the last word, and I'm Marya Shakil. 2 days after Vice President Jagdeep Dhankhar posted his surprise resignation letter to the President on X, the Election Commission has started the process of preparing for elections to his office. In fact, the Union Home Ministry notified Dhankhar's resignation a day ago through its gazetted notification, and now in its note, the Election Commission has said that it has already started the preparations for these polls. Preparatory activities, remember, includes the creation of an electoral college, which consists of elected as well as nominated members of the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. The Election Commission will finalize the returning officer and assistant returning officers for this exercise, and it will also prepare and disseminate previous material on previous vice presidential elections. Who will be the next vice presidential nominee of the NDA and the India bloc is the big question now. Today, though, the theories around surprise exit of Jagdeep Dhankhar continued in the corridors of power. Congress continuing to say that the resignation is more than what it meets the eye, that it is not a case of just a resignation based on health reasons. Surprisingly, Congress Chief Minister from Telangana, Revanth Reddy, also added a Telugu twist. Let's listen into reactions, and then we bring in a member of parliament of the Congress party, Renuka Chaudhary, right here on the show.
हमको तो ऐसा दिख रहा है कि दाल में कुछ काला है, नहीं तो उनका हेल्थ भी ठीक है। वो हमेशा तो आरएसएस और बीजेपी को इतना डिफेंड करते थे, शायद ही वो खुद आरएसएस और बीजेपी के लोग नहीं करते थे। इतना उनका यानी निष्ठा, लॉयल्टी उनके साथ थी। तो ऐसे वक्त में उन्होंने जो राजीनामा दिया है, इसके पीछे क्या है, कौन है और इसका कारण क्या है, देश को बताना चाहिए।
तो धनखड़ जी का रिजिग्नेशन अब किस लिए किया मुझे पता नहीं, वो अनफॉर्चुनेट वाइस प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया तेलंगाना को देना है, क्योंकि पिछले बार हमारे वेंकैया नायडू था, राष्ट्रपति बनाने के लिए चर्चा हुए, उनका अन्याय किए, वापस भेज दिए दिल्ली से। तेलुगु भाषा बोलने वाले को आप घर वापसी कर दिए। तो उसको सुधारने के लिए हमारे बंडारू दत्तात्रेय जी का खाली हरियाणा गवर्नर का जिम्मेदारी खत्म हो गए। साउथ और खासकर तेलंगाना में जितने भी ओबीसी है, सबका गला काट दिए एनडीए ने। सो सौपुन माफ करने के लिए दत्तात्रेय जी को वाइस प्रेसिडेंट बनाया तो ठीक रहता है।
Congress MP Renuka Chaudhary is joining me now. We are looking at Ms. Chaudhary as to who will be the next Vice President, and the notification having been issued by the Election Commission. What will be the India bloc looking at? And, because the elections are going to be held very soon, perhaps by the end of next month.
Marya, actually what this nation is staring at is where egos dominate common sense. Parliament's notification was given approximately 28 days ago. Everyone knew that we are going to have Parliament monsoon session at this point. If that was the case, you mean to say that this government did not know what Mr. Dhankhar was going to do or made to do? He was made to do it. Let's be very clear about this. And you do this on the first day of a session, and a session that we have been looking forward to because they did not hold a special session which we had asked for in between, in the light of the Pahalgam killings and the so-called Operation Sindoor, which they are boasting about. And they're contentious issues which the country is looking for and asking answers. And on the first day of the session, you have the Vice President of the country, while the Prime Minister is outside the country, that he will resign. What kind of political signal are we giving in a democracy? And for what? The truth has to come out. What is it that Mr. Dhankhar has been guilty of? As it is in Lok Sabha, you go to see it, we haven't had a deputy speaker for the past 10 years. Where is the Lokpal? What happened to the RTI? All the instruments of democracy and constitutional recognition have been insidiously weeded out and worked away. And what is that national emergency that forced the government to make sure that this man resigns on the first day of Parliament, when there's so many issues lying there? And I'm not very impressed that they started the procedure for the election. They had to. But having said that, there's nothing they can do. In this session, we are not going to have a Vice President in place. And so we are just supposed to sit back and accept this and say, okay, now the show will go on. What kind of misgovernance is this that's happening in this country? And what signals are you giving internationally? This is so bizarre.
But Renuka ji, what is evident is that something has changed in the last 6 months. You're a member of the House of which Mr. Dhankhar was the chairperson. He was the chairman of the Rajya Sabha. You're an MP of the Congress party from the Rajya Sabha. 6 months ago, it was your party, you, which had signed an impeachment motion against Mr. Dhankhar. You have moved that impeachment motion. Of course, it was rejected on technical grounds. What really changed in these 6 months, ma'am?
Nothing has changed. We are not singing laurels for the Vice President. We have complained about him not being, him being so partial to one side. Everyone has witnessed, we've seen him. He didn't let the LOP complete his remarks. That's not the issue. The issue is that there is a chair. There is a representation of a democratic appointment there. And there is a chair sitting in position on the first day of the session, which has come up after so many incidents have happened in between the two sessions. There's so many contentious issues that should have been addressed now in the first 3 days of the session. But what happened? We are not saying that we want to keep Mr. Dhankhar. That's okay. Whatever the party wants to do, their party, that's fine. That is not the issue. The issue is that there are serious things that need to be addressed. The nation is waiting for the answers. And in the middle of all this, you go and do this drama of making the Vice President of the country resign. And in the Lok Sabha, you haven't appointed a deputy speaker for 10 years. You can't find it within yourself. You can't find your own party president. You've been giving extensions bit by bit. You can't appoint a president for yourself, for your own party. He is the vice president, whether you like it or not. But the point is that at a situation like this, when the Pahalgaon killers have not yet been arrested, when we are having commerce issues, there is a debate going on globally. We have tariffs which are hurting us. You have the rupee which is sliding every day. Where does that leave? There's 60 to 80% drop in Indian students going to the US of A. There's unemployment at huge levels. You don't think this was more important than somebody's ego with Mr. Dhankhar? That is the issue that we are asking. What happened? What's happening to all the instruments of democracy? One by one, they're being weeded out. And then they have these diversionary tactics. They'll take up Rahul Gandhi's name or Mrs. Gandhi's name. Some drama like this they keep doing to divert from the real issues. And the real issues go unanswered. I mean, this is a bizarre way to run this country. You couldn't make him resign before the session started. You couldn't make him resign a week later. 2 weeks later, there's a long weekend where you take up these issues first as prima facie. You don't do any of that. And let's come to the impeachment issue. Why is it they don't want Rajya Sabha to take it up? They wanted Lok Sabha. They pretend that their members have signed for the impeachment in the Lok Sabha.
Yes.
In the Rajya Sabha,
of 145 MPs, a notice was submitted.
The bills, the motions remain live. So they want to pretend that they want to impeach the judge. And the Lok Sabha. Why Lok Sabha? Why not the Rajya Sabha is my question. So if it has been admitted in the Rajya Sabha, then somebody becomes a villain. Very conveniently. We are not fighting for an individual in that chair. We are fighting for the position of the chair. The importance of that in a given situation like this, where we are questioning the government on several issues. We need answers. We don't want house disruptions.
Okay.
And you
Renuka
conveniently
Chaudhary.
do it. You rile up everyone and then you pretend it's not you. Wow.
All right, Renuka Chaudhary, appreciate your time. Neerja Chaudhary, senior journalist and columnist, joins us. We also have Amitabh Tiwari. Neerja Chaudhary, as someone who has covered parliamentary democracy, this is unprecedented for a vice president to resign mid-term and on health grounds. Of course, in the past, 5 vice presidents that we know of resigned for multiple reasons. They went on to become the presidents as well. Of course, there are multiple there are multiple theories around it. Do you think that has been more or less put to rest, and now the focus has shifted to who will be the next vice president and whether it will be a consensus candidate or whether the India bloc will be, announcing its own nominee just as India bloc NDA would be? Have we moved ahead from the theories?
I think, this has been historically unprecedented.
Yes.
The narrative has changed in Parliament as a result. If you look at what we were discussing on that Monday when the monsoon session started, Pahalgam, Operation Sindoor, Mr. Kharge making that statement, and so on. Today, it's gone into the background. Of course, there'll be discussion on it, but it's one of the many subjects. It's not the central subject. Now, there are few takers for the theory that Mr. Dhankhar resigned on health grounds. Of course, he had health issues, no doubt about that. But had it been health, it would have been handled very differently. He might have done it before the session. He would have packaged it very differently. It's possible that the government would have tried to persuade him not to go. But the way it has happened, it was accepted very quickly. It was gazetted very quickly. And the Prime Minister's statement itself, when he was made the Vice President of India 3 years ago, the Prime Minister's statement was very effusive, talking about his Kisani background. This time, the Prime Minister's statement was terse, that Mr. Dhankhar had been given many opportunities to serve, and he wished him the best. There was no word about his contribution and so on, and of course, no farewell and etc. So clearly, Marya, there has been a falling out between Mr. Dhankhar, who was seen to be batting on the side of the government for many, many months as Vice President, So the falling out between the top leadership of the government and the BJP and now the former Vice President of India. Now there are many reasons, and I believe it is said is because of that notice given by opposition MPs for a impeachment motion against the Judge Verma. But it cannot be at that level of constitutional positions. It cannot be one instance. You know, these pinpricks keep taking place. So there has to be that one incident could be the last straw that broke the camel's back.
Yes.
And there's a whole history, and one hears of, the people who saw him in the last 6 months, and he was quite critical of the government. Critical of the government, and the Prime Minister has obviously reached the top of the government. And I think things had been probably building up. And of course his stand on the judiciary, but overall my sense is that they came to the conclusion, those in the BJP's top leadership, that they could not afford to have the Rajya Sabha, the upper house, slip out of their hands. And somewhere maybe they saw that happening. And this was not because he was acquiring as they say, surkhiyon mein all the time, acquiring a large profile, unlike, say, the president. And obviously the leadership would like a different kind of, those who man these positions, those who don't have, a larger than life profile, and much more low profile, as we've seen with chief ministers also in states ruled by the BJP. It's a different breed that's coming in.
Yes. Neeta ma'am, what also became evident, and of course this has been simmering, that's what sources have been telling us, is for the last few weeks, and perhaps that was the trigger point or the ultimate flashpoint that you say, the straw that broke the camel's back. But because of the repeated statements that was coming in from the Vice President, and he had started being seen as as someone who was perhaps speaking on behalf of the government, his repeated statements against the judiciary also did not go down well. While the government believes in separation of power, it would have also wanted that, the role in the appointments of various judges, the decisions which have happened in recent times, it had a role to play as well, Amitabh Tiwari.
Yeah, of course, if you see the ministers who have been very vocal or have indulged in judicial activism, starting from Ravi Shankar Prasad to then Kiran Rijiju and now Vice President Dhankar, have almost all of them have met the same fate, because there is clearly a separation between the judiciary and the executive. And the government also believes in it, though it wants to have some sort of control, and the NJAC has been under discussions for a long time now. What has also happened is that this has caused some embarrassment to the government, and this would continue perhaps for this week, because the opposition would, in fact, even today it has realized by raising the SIR issue outside of parliament, is that if they latch onto this just because it has caused embarrassment, then major issues like the SIR or the Pahalgam terror attack or the Operation Sindoor cannot be discussed, where they have perhaps greater ammunition to pin the government down. Also, since Mr. Dhankhar is not a political heavyweight, correct? Not a politician of sorts. His exit may not create the same furor that would have happened if a heavyweight politician who was occupying the vice president chair would have taken such decision. Correct. So that also is a point, that after some time the elections will be around the corner. There will be a discussion on names, whether there will be a consensus candidate, where there will be voting. In voting, the NDA has the edge. So I think sometime during the weekend or over the course of the next week, things are likely to settle down, because the Prime Minister has also gone to UK and there will be a free trade agreement signing. So news cycles move, correct? So news cycles move from one news to another. And since he's not a heavyweight, and also perhaps not a very, not from the traditional RSS BJP background, I think the losses are temporary and could be minimal for the BJP and the NDA in the long run.
Oh, the question now is who will be the next vice president? Any guess on that front?
I mean, any guesses you take is very difficult in BJP's textbook sort of politics, wherein it is very, very difficult to take any names. But I believe that this has also given an opportunity to the BJP to settle the long pending BJP president appointment. Correct? Because we've heard of many reports, rumors that there are some tensions between RSS and BJP over that role. Correct? So now you have two positions to fill. So there can be some midway agreement or between the two entities that one position can be taken by the RSS and one position can be taken by the BJP, correct? Or rather the two groups, let's say. So I think it also brings an opportunity to the BJP to perhaps settle this issue, as both of them are very big and important posts, and also gives a way out to both the parties to agree on the matter.
All right, Neerja Chaudhary. Neerja, your thoughts? I mean, that was Amitabh Tiwari responding to that next vice president.
Look, many names are doing the round. I just want to happen. Rajnath Singh, Nitish Kumar, the Governor Ravi of Tamil Nadu. I would say somebody like Harivansh, who's very low profile. He's from the JDU, but has worked in tandem with the BJP. He's going to officiate as vice president and chair of the house. You don't know whether will it be him, and there are Bihar elections down the road. But it would not be somebody who has a different, as I say, higher profile. It will be somebody with a low profile, just as President Murmu is. There is symbolic importance of her being a woman as well as a tribal, but she is very quiet. She hasn't acquired an independent profile of another kind. So I would think the leadership of the BJP favors those like that, and those kind of personalities to head institutions.
All right, Neerja Chaudhary and Amitabh Tiwari, I appreciate your time. Shifting focus now to Vikas Singh, former Additional Solicitor General of India and senior advocate, is joining us. This entire controversy surrounding the exit of Jagdeep Dhankhar, the Vice President, has raised a lot of questions about the role of institutions as well, Mr. Singh. How do you see this as a lawyer who is witnessing it from the outside?
So I think it's a little unfortunate because the reason which he has given obviously is not the right reason. So there has to be something else. Now, as the chairman of the Rajya Sabha, if he had a motion which is by law permissible to be entertained, and if he entertained a motion for the removal of a judge, that can't be a justification to ask him to step down. And this is actually the only justifiable reason that one can think of. The government wanted him to wait for sufficient number of ruling party MPs also to give him that requisition, and to wait on, not act on the requisition by the Congress members. But, this will actually be contrary to the constitutional scheme, because the moment the requisite number of MPs give you a requisition, you have to entertain that requisition. And to wait for the ruling party also to get those signatures and to not entertain a requisition of this kind would actually be contrary to the, the impartiality that is expected of a position of a vice president or a speaker or any constitutional office of this kind. I think this is sad for the country. This is not right. Not on the merits of whether he should have resigned or not resigned, or whether he was the right person in the place or not. Well, that obviously I'm nobody to comment. But the way he has left is, not something which is good or healthy for our democracy. And these constitutional positions definitely look like as if they are meant to be puppets and not to act independently.
But Vikas Singh, I've been speaking to the leaders across party lines, and sense certainly is that in the Rajya Sabha there is already a motion of impeachment of a judge that is pending, that is of Justice Yadav, and hence the government was of the opinion that a motion of impeachment of another judge should be brought in the Lok Sabha.
No, so that is not a legal requirement. It can be the Rajya Sabha or the Lok Sabha either. I mean, it's not something which so it is not, a motion cannot be brought in only when the ruling party wants it to be brought in. So that's not the law. The requisite number of MPs, if they sign, then a motion can be entertained. So it's not that there is any requirement of Lok Sabha only entertaining a motion or Rajya Sabha only entertaining a motion. It can be said that having not entertained another motion against Justice Yadav, why did he entertain this motion? Could be said something against him, because if he was so impartial in entertaining any motion of this kind, he should have entertained that other motion also. But we can't, look at his conduct there to justify his or not justify his conduct here. If he did not entertain a motion there, that is a separate, according to me, a separate, cause against him. And to say that he is not acting as per the constitutional office which he is expected to, perform. But whatever he did in this case cannot be faulted, or he cannot be asked to resign, or he should not be made to resign, because having done something which is as per law.
But sir, of course, you're raising questions about as per law. But isn't it almost understood that the chairman of the Rajya Sabha and the speaker of the Lok Sabha serve the office because they have the support of the ruling government? They are appointed to that chair by the ruling government.
No, so they are elected by the, by this. So in the case of Vice President, it is the House of People and the Council of this upper house, both elect a Vice President. And for the President, there is a separate electoral college. So it is not as if they are elected by the ruling party. Impliedly, it will have to be the majority, the ruling party supporting both these positions for anybody to be elected, because normally the ruling party will have more number of people in the electoral college. But there can be a situation, and there was a situation once when the BJP first came to power, where the electoral college for the presidential election could be different from the electoral from the what the ruling party wants it to be. So they could be in a minority in the electoral college for the office of the president. So although it's a different matter that then also they could muster the support of the regional parties and get their candidate elected. But theoretically it is possible. So it is not as if these offices are meant to be now, for instance, a speaker's position. Let me just give you an example of a speaker's position, and to that extent, even a vice president will have. There are several decisions he has to take on the anti-defection bill, which are basically judicious decisions. So he is not acting as a government representative while he's not supposed to act as a government representative while he's acting in that position. But our experience has been that. Mostly these people act as per the dictates of the government, and that is why the government has expected the vice president also in this case to wait for the government nod before accepting a motion of this kind, because that's how he has been working so far as a mouthpiece of the government. And if he did not continue in the same manner in which he has continued as governor of West Bengal as well as vice president, suddenly if he wants to become fair and impartial, then that is not palatable to the ruling party, and that is why probably he had to resign. So it's a sad state of affairs, I would say, as far as these high positions, constitutional positions are concerned, whether it be speaker or whether it be vice president or governor or even the president of India.
All right, Vikas Singh, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. Joining us now is Rajesh Verma, who is an LJP MP from Bihar. He represents Khagaria constituency. वर्मा जी, ये जो धनकर वाइस प्रेसिडेंट धनकर का जो एग्जिट है उस पर बहुत सारे सवाल उठ रहे हैं। एक ऐसा वर्जन ये भी है कि ऑपोजिशन का उन्होंने इम्पीचमेंट मोशन एक्सेप्ट कर लिया था और जो सही नहीं था, लेकिन ये भी बोला जा रहा है कि जो वाइस प्रेसिडेंट का पोजीशन होता है वो तो बाई पार्टिजान होना चाहिए। ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल क्राइसिस के तौर पे देखा जा रहा है। एलजेपी जो भाजपा का एनडीए में आप लोग साथ में हैं, आप कैसे देखते हैं इसको?
नहीं, बिल्कुल नहीं। जब उन्होंने खुद से ये उसमें अपने रेजिग्नेशन में स्पष्ट रूप से लिखा है, उन्होंने अपने हेल्थ इश्यूज को लेकर बताया। अब क्या हेल्थ इश्यूज हैं, इन चीज़ों पर देश के उपराष्ट्रपति हैं रहे हैं, तो उस पर मुझे लगता है कि कोई टीका टिप्पणी जब तक पूरी जानकारी नहीं हो तब तक करना उचित नहीं है। परंतु जब उन्होंने स्पष्ट रूप से इस बात को कहा है और सबका आभार व्यक्त किया है, प्रधानमंत्री से लेकर राष्ट्रपति से लेकर पूरे देश का, कि उनको एक लंबे समय तक बतौर उपराष्ट्रपति देश की सेवा करने का उनको अवसर मिला, तो मुझे लगता है इस पर कोई टीका टिप्पणी करना भी बहुत जल्दबाजी होगी। समय के हिसाब से ये चीजें स्पष्ट होंगी तो ज्यादा बेहतर है।
एक कयास लगाया जा रहा है कि वाइस प्रेसिडेंट के तौर पर बिहार के मुख्यमंत्री नीतीश कुमार को मौका देना चाहिए। आप एनडीए के अलाई हैं, आपको लगता है ये डिमांड सही है और ये डिमांड बिहार से ही आ रहा है?
नहीं, देखिए, इसमें कोई दो मत नहीं है कि माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी के पास एक लंबा राजनीतिक अनुभव है, और अगर इस तरीके की दिशा में यदि कोई सरकार सोचती है तो हम लोग भी स्वागत करेंगे। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी का एक लंबा बिहार को चलाने का अनुभव है। रेल मंत्रालय उन्होंने चलाया, इसके पहले भी उन्होंने कई मंत्रालय चलाए हैं और एक लंबे समय तक बिहार की पॉलिटिक्स में रहे हैं। अगर ऐसी कोई संभावनाएं बनती हैं, क्योंकि कौन बनेगा ये तो कह पाना बड़ा कठिन है, लेकिन क्योंकि हमारे प्रदेश के यदि मुख्यमंत्री को मौका मिलता है, बिहार से कोई देश का प्रतिनिधित्व करने का किसी को मौका मिलता है, उपराष्ट्रपति के पद पर सुशोभित होने का मौका मिलता है, तो हम सबके लिए गर्व की बात है। लेकिन अंतिम निर्णय तो केंद्र सरकार का और बाकी तमाम जितने भी हम लोग हैं सब मिलकर जो भी अंतिम निर्णय होगा वो किया जाए।
All right, Rajesh Verma there, LJP MP. Thank you so much for joining us. On that note, we are slipping into a short break, but we'll be shifting focus to how this entire special intensive row or SIR, which has escalated in Parliament as the opposition held a black protest when the government refused to discuss the matter. We have top political voices joining us after a short break. Stay with us.
Hello, Moto.
Moto G96 5G. All eyes on you.
Finessa Windows, beautiful and durable designs. इंस्टॉलेशन से मेंटेनेंस की लाइफ लॉन्ग कस्टमर सर्विस। आपके घर में फिनेस्टा नहीं है तो कॉल कीजिए।
फिनेस्टा।
कहना इस दीवार पे इतने इश्तहार चिपके हैं कि कोई दरार नजर नहीं आती। मैं उन लोगों में से जो कहता हूँ सारे इश्तहार फाड़ के फेंको, पहले दरार को एड्रेस करो।
ये दरार इसलिए क्योंकि कुछ लेफ्ट कुछ राइट, पर हम उन मुद्दों में आपके साथ जिनसे आपकी फाइट है। डिजिटल से देश समझा, अब टीवी पर समाधान लाना है। आइए मेरे साथ खबरों की कचहरी में सिर्फ NDTV पर।
The big Bharat-Britain deal is done. India and the UK all set for history. The big India-UK trade deal loading. The biggest Modi-Starmer handshake. With me, Radhika Iyer for NDTV World.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I'm bringing that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti, also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
India's IT capital is always bustling, a city full of startups, stories and surprises. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
And the row over Special Intensive Revision or SIR escalated in Parliament today as the opposition held a black protest when the government refused to discuss the matter. Government sources have said that the government feels that the Election Commission was holding the revision and it could not answer on behalf of the poll body. In such a situation, can the issue of revision of voter list be discussed in Parliament was the big question. Today, the RJD also and alleged that the Election Commission is taking orders from the ruling BJP, and in that, because of such circumstances, holding an election will become meaningless, and if the opposition could consider boycotting the coming assembly polls as well. First up, let's listen in to how the events played out today and then also what Tejasvi Yadav had to say.
ये सदन की परंपराओं के अनुरूप नहीं है।
From Parliament to Patna.
सदन चर्चा संवाद के लिए
A war over the Bihar voters list. India Bloc MPs led by Rahul Gandhi staged a protest outside Parliament. Inside the House, opposition MPs demanded a discussion on the special intensive revision of the voters list ahead of the polls that the opposition has dubbed as hurried and flawed.
सिर्फ 52 लाख की बात नहीं है, सिर्फ बिहार की बात नहीं है। महाराष्ट्र में इन्होंने चीटिंग की। अब हम बिहार का पूरा सिस्टम नए तरीके से करेंगे, वोटर डिलीट करेंगे और नए तरीके से वोटर लिस्ट लाएंगे। हिंदुस्तान में इलेक्शन चोरी किए जा रहे हैं, ये रियलिटी है हिंदुस्तान की।
जो वोटर्स होते थे वो सरकार चुनती थी, आज उल्टा हो रहा है। अब सरकार में बैठे लोग वोटर चुन रहे हैं।
The government has been defending the exercise, saying it's the correction of the voters list, and the opposition has been disrupting parliament.
तो जो खुद वोटों की चोरी करता रहा हो, जिसका इतिहास रहा हो, वो दूसरों को ऐसा समझता है बीजेपी ऐसी नहीं है। लगातार 3 बार जो हार का हैट्रिक अजमा चुके हों जो लोग, वो हार के कारणों का अपना विश्लेषण नहीं करते, वो नए नए कारण ढूंढ लेते हैं। चुनाव के पहले उनको लग गया बिहार की नब्ज क्या है, जान गए कि बिहार की नब्ज जो मोदी जी का विकास चाहती है, तो ये मोदी जी का फोबिया है इनमें।
Voices of dissent have also emerged from within the NDA camp. BJP ally JDU MP questioned the process.
चुनाव आयोग जो है ना, उसको कोई क्या कहते हैं व्यवहारिक ज्ञान नहीं है। वो बिहार का न इतिहास जानता है, न भूगोल जानता है, कुछ जानता ही नहीं है। पार्टी के साथ हम तब हैं जब वोट डालने जाएंगे। बाकी मेरा तो कुछ स्वतंत्र विचार भी है ना। पार्टी को खिलाफ का क्या बयान है, सच्चाई यही है। अब सच्चाई भी नहीं बोल पाए तो एमपी बने काहे के लिए।
Opposition upped the ante as the Election Commission informed that a total of 56 lakh voters have been removed from the list. Of the 56 lakh names removed, 20 lakh are reported dead. 28 lakh voters have shifted to different constituencies and 7 lakh are enrolled at 2 places, while 15 lakh voters have still not submitted their forms. The Election Commission has assured that all eligible electors are included in the draft electoral roll to be published on August 1st. The panel has also said that a full 1 month will be available to any member of the public to file objections for any additions, deletions and rectification in draft electoral rolls. The issue also triggered a heated exchange in the Bihar Assembly where Chief Minister Nitish Kumar and RJD leader Tejasvi Yadav crossed swords.
11 ऐसे डॉक्यूमेंट मांगे। पहले बता दे डॉक्यूमेंट के मामले में, चाहे मैट्रिक का हो, चाहे बर्थ सर्टिफिकेट हो, डेथ सर्टिफिकेट हो, बिहार सबसे फिसड्डी राज्य है डॉक्यूमेंट के मामले में। मात्र 2.3% जो है बिहार के लोगों के पास वो डॉक्यूमेंट है महोदय।
अरे काहे के लिए बोल रहे हो? जब उम्र तुम्हारा कम था तुम्हारे पिताजी 7 साल मंत्री थे और उसके बाद तुम्हारी माता 7 फिर मंत्री रही, आज तुम मुख्यमंत्री रहे।
The voters list revision issue has rocked the Bihar election season. The opposition has been hoping to convert the voter sentiment by raking it, while the ruling coalition is using it to paint the opposition as supporters of illegal voters. Bureau Report, NDTV.
लगता है कि चुनाव आयोग कंप्रोमाइज हो चुका है।
लग तो यही रहा है, हमको बोलने में हिचक नहीं है। अब तक इलेक्शन कमिश्नर ने प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस नहीं की है, लगातार सुप्रीम कोर्ट के सलाह के बाद भी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस नहीं की। देश में एक राज्य बिहार है जहां चुनाव हो रहा है और इतना बड़ा ड्राइव अचानक से शुरू किया गया। कई हमारे सवाल हैं, कई कन्फ्यूजन लोगों में है, जिसको आकर के एड्रेस करना चाहिए था इलेक्शन कमीशन को, वो उन लोगों ने नहीं किया। मजबूरन हम लोगों को अदालत का सहारा लेना पड़ा। जब आप जो है चुनाव ईमानदारी से कराइए, वोटर लिस्ट पे आप चुनाव कराइएगा, तो चुनाव का क्या मतलब? इलेक्शन कमीशन को बोल दे एक्सटेंशन दे दे सरकार को। जब खोल के ही नंगापन आ गया इन लोगों में, बेईमानी कर रहे हैं, तो एक्सटेंशन दे दे। चुनाव क्यों करा रहे हो भाई?
पक्ष एक तरीके से इस पर भी आपस में बातचीत कर सकता है कि चुनाव का आप लोग बाइकआउट कर दें कि भाई अपने खुद से लड़ो और जो करना है।
नहीं, हो सकता है, इस बात पे भी चर्चा हो सकती है। वो हम लोग देखेंगे कि जनता क्या चाहती है और सब लोगों का क्या राय है।
Joining me right now is someone who has actually broken ranks from within the NDA. Girdhar Yadav is JDU MP, is joining us live. गिरधर जी, ये जो बिहार में SIR चल रहा है, आप उसको, ये पूरी प्रक्रिया को आप कैसे देखते हैं? क्योंकि कई सब तरह के सवाल उठाए जा रहे हैं।
SIR जो बिहार में निर्वाचन आयोग द्वारा कराया जा रहा है, इसमें बिहार की जनता को बहुत परेशानियों का सामना करना पड़ रहा है। एक तो अभी बिहार में खेती का सीजन है, लोग अपना खेती में काम करने में व्यस्त हैं, बाढ़ का समय है, वो अपना खेती करे, बाढ़ से अपने बाल बच्चों की और पशुओं की रक्षा करे कि अपना वोटर में अपना नाम जोड़े। ये तो इलेक्शन कमीशन का दायित्व था कि वो 6 महीना पहले, जब एक लोकसभा का चुनाव हुआ था, उसको 6 महीना बाद से शुरू करता, सही समय पर हो जाता। वोटर का संख्या गिन रहे थे, वोटर लिस्ट में नाम जोड़े, उसी समय करा लेते। ये अकस्मात बाढ़ के समय, खेती के समय बिहार की जनता को परेशान करना, ये इलेक्शन कमीशन का दायित्व नहीं है। इलेक्शन कमीशन भी लोक कल्याणकारी राज्य का एक अंग है। लोक कल्याणकारी का राज्य का मतलब है इस देश की जो जनता है, उस जनता को किसी प्रकार की परेशानी का सामना नहीं करना पड़े। बहुत सारे हमारे बिहार के मतदाता भाई जो हैं, वो दूसरे राज्यों में मजदूर के रूप में काम कर रहे हैं, अनस्किल्ड लेबर है। जो अनस्किल्ड लेबर है, उनका जो काम चल रहा है, उसके बिना वहाँ काम चलेगा नहीं, वो आ नहीं सकते हैं। बहुत जो आप कह रहे हैं कि ऑनलाइन किया जा रहा है, वो जो अनस्किल्ड लेबर है वो कहाँ से ऑनलाइन कर पाएगा? कहाँ उसके पास कंप्यूटर है, कहाँ लैब है, कौन उसको कर देगा? यदि इनको वहीं लेना था तो सब राज्यों में भेज देते अपने यहाँ लोगों को, इलेक्शन कमीशन वहाँ लोग अपना नाम जुड़वा लेता। लेकिन वो बात नहीं कहता कि घर पर आइए, जो लाखों मजदूर जो बाहर काम कर रहे हैं, उसका वोट का अधिकार छीना जाएगा। और जो संविधान सभा में बहस हुआ था, जो देश के हमारे संविधान निर्माताओं ने जो कहा कि इस देश का हर नागरिक को वोट का अधिकार होगा, वोट का अधिकार पाने में हम अमेरिका को वर्षों लग गया, इंग्लैंड को वर्षों लग गया, तब जाके मिला। लेकिन आज़ादी के पहली बार इस देश में वो अमीर हो, गरीब हो, अगड़ा हो, पिछड़ा हो, दलित हो, अकलियत हो, अल्पसंख्यक हो, सारे आदिवासी, सारे लोगों को संविधान के द्वारा एक दिन में वोट का अधिकार, एक समान मताधिकार का अधिकार जो संविधान ने दिया है, उसको सबको पालन करना होगा। और जो ये इलेक्शन कमीशन है, इनका दायित्व बनता है कि समान मताधिकार के अंतर्गत जो मतदाता बाहर हैं उसको मताधिकार कैसे मिले, उसको देना चाहिए। संविधान सभा में ये बहस भी हुआ था कि एक भूखे व्यक्ति के लिए वोट का क्या महत्व होगा। उसके बावजूद भी लोगों ने मताधिकार, व्यस्क मताधिकार लागू करने का काम किया। और 18 साल के, उस समय 21 साल था, बाद में 18 साल के सारे मतदाताओं को इस देश में वोटर का अधिकार दिया गया है। इसलिए हम इलेक्शन कमीशन से अपील करते हैं कि वो अपने तरीके से, जो भी तरीका उनको अपनाना हो, कोई वोटर छूटे नहीं, कोई वोटर वोट देने से वंचित नहीं हो। इस देश में, इस राज्य में ये उनका दायित्व बने।
जी, इलेक्शन कमीशन का कहना है कि जो 2 दिन बचे हैं वो ऐसा इंश्योर करेंगे कि जो उनका पूरा काम है वो पूरा हो जाए। जो 3% वोटर्स ऐसे हैं जिन्होंने अभी तक फॉर्म नहीं लिया है।
काम पूरा करने में परेशानी कितना हुआ जनता को, कितने लोग परेशान हो गए। हम करें यही काम वो 6 महीने में करते, लोग आसानी से कर लेता है। इलेक्शन कमीशन करा कि हम 3% बचा है, 1 वोट का महत्व होता है। 3% तो बहुत वोट हो गया। जो जब इलेक्शन कमीशन लोकसभा में इसी वोटर लिस्ट पर चुनाव करा लिया, उसी चीज पर करा लिया, तो फिर जब वो वोटर का संख्या जब वोटर लिस्ट में जोड़ रहे थे तो उसी समय नाम हटवा लेते। उसमें सुखाड़ का समय था, उसमें क्या कहते हैं आपको, गर्मी का समय था, खेती का समय नहीं था, लोग परेशानी से बचता। परेशान करके किसी लोक कल्याणकारी राज्य में किसी को सब ऐसे लगा कि अब क्या टूट पड़ेगा, मेरा वोटर का नाम कट जाएगा, तो बहुत परेशानी हुई, बहुत लोगों को परेशानी हुई।
राहुल गांधी और उसके अलावा जो महागठबंधन की पार्टीज हैं, तेजस्वी यादव और बाकी लोग ये कह रहे हैं कि ये वोट की चोरी हो रही है। आप क्या समझते हैं?
हम तो इलेक्शन कमीशन से अपील करते हैं, वो क्या कहते हैं, वो उनका जुडिक्शन है। हमारा जुडिक्शन है कि हम कमीशन जो संवैधानिक संस्था है, पूरे देश की जनता का, हर पॉलिटिकल पार्टी का इस भारत के निर्वाचन आयोग पर आस्था है, विश्वास है, उसको बनाए रखने के लिए निष्पक्ष तरीके से कि कोई वोट बिहार के मतदाता का छूटे नहीं, इसके लिए काम करें और समय बढ़ाने की आवश्यकता पड़े बढ़ावें।
जी, आप खुद सांसद हैं, आपका खुद का अनुभव क्या है? आपको लगता है क्या लोगों को दिक्कत हो रही है?
हमारा निजी अनुभव ये है कि हमको अपने खुद कागज जमा करने में 10 दिन लग गया। फोटो खिंचाए, फिर यहाँ मेरे लोग दिल्ली में रहते थे, इसको ले गए, फिर साइन कराए, फिर उसको जमा किए। हमारा बेटा एक विदेश में रहता है, उसका वोटर कार्ड में अब कैसे वो करेगा? बहुत समय हमारे जैसे लोगों को इतना समस्या का सामना करना पड़ा। तो जो हमारे मतदाता भाई हैं, जो दूसरे राज्यों में काम कर रहे हैं, जो हमारे क्षेत्र में किसान भाई जो खेतों में काम कर रहे हैं, उनको और अधिक समस्याओं का सामना करना पड़ा।
गिरधर जी, मेरा आखिरी सवाल ये है कि आपकी पार्टी मानती है कि ये जो एक्सरसाइज है वो सही हो रहा है, उसके अलावा पूरा एनडीए मानता है ये बहुत ही अच्छा एक्सरसाइज है, क्या एसआईआर जरूरी था?
एमपी होने के नाते ये मेरा स्वतंत्र विचार है और एमपी का भी दायित्व बनता है कि 543 लोग में इस देश में एक व्यक्ति हम भी हैं, हम भी अपनी बात को रखने का अधिकार है। बाकी पार्टी क्या करे वो पार्टी जाने, हमारा उस पर कोई विरोध है ना कोई सपोर्ट है, मेरा व्यक्तिगत विचार है।
Girdhar Yadav, Member of Parliament of the JDU, I appreciate your time here on NDTV. Joining me now, RP Singh, spokesperson of the BJP, OP Rawat, former CEC, Sujata Paul, spokesperson of the Congress. We have Parimal Kumar, spokesperson of the JDU, and RJD is being represented by Ravi Shankar Ravi. RP Singh, you know, these are practical questions being raised by a Member of Parliament. Something that I have also spoken to a lot of people and they share the same concern that the sheer scale of this exercise means that how will you manage those documents in a very, very small period of time? This this entire exercise could have been spread over months, not happened in just 2 months.
Well, it's not happening for the first time. 2003, it happened in 31 days. Today, we are in time of technology, and it can happen. But let me tell you the real reason behind why there's so much of hue and cry. I appreciate you allow this.
Yes.
This is Rahul Gandhi in Bihar asking you.
सरकारी कॉलेज बहुत अच्छे बेहतर हैं। हाँ। कॉलेज बेहतर हैं। क्या क्या सीखते हैं उसमें? उसमें कंप्यूटर भी है लोगों के लिए और कंप्यूटर है और उसको उनको किताब भी मिलता है।
बता दीजिए ना क्या है, दर्शक नहीं सुन पा रहे हैं। चलिए आप बता दीजिए क्या हो रहा है।
राहुल गांधी गए जमीन पर पूछने एक महिला से कि आपके यहाँ गुड नंबर ऑफ वुमेन देयर कि स्कूल में पढ़ाई कैसी होती है? बोली बहुत अच्छी होती है। आपके स्कूल में अंग्रेजी पढ़ाई जाती है? हाँ पढ़ाई जाती है। कंप्यूटर भी है, बच्चों को साइकिल भी दिया जाता है। पढ़ाई का स्टैंडर्ड कैसा? बहुत अच्छा है। For any politician to understand this is happening, that's why they want to boycott election now. That's why they want to boycott election because they know the pulse on ground. And also, Marya, what's wrong? I'm going through the section 19 of the Representative of People's Act. It categorically says only Indian citizens have the right to vote. One, foreign national. I highlighted foreign national, illegal immigrants or person who have acquired citizenship of another country are not eligible for elections. Now, let me quote you one more thing. 2019, the gentleman named Mohammad Sadiq who contested election, In Assam, his election was challenged and his nomination was cancelled. He was a Bangladeshi.
Okay. From the RJD, we in fact have Dr. Shyam Kumar, who's a RJD spokesperson. I'll have to move ahead and look at Sujata Paul. The point that has been made by Tejasvi Yadav today, Sujata Paul, is that the opposition might even consider boycotting these polls. How will it really achieve your objective? One. Second, if the Supreme Court has not really stopped this exercise, then certainly they see the reason why this exercise, the merit in this exercise. Is the opposition then, after not really, first you said that you wanted the voter ID card, the ration card and Aadhaar card to be included in the list of documents, which has happened. That means the exercise which is happening is also something that, with those additional documents, everybody is able to submit those papers. Now you're looking at also boycotting it. Then why shouldn't I believe what RP Singh is saying?
Because there is no reason why there should be elections in this country if Mr. Modi and Mr. Amit Shah had their way. But for this particular this scheme of theirs, this conspiracy of theirs, make no mistake, this country is going to punish every single person who is behind this conspiracy. Let's make it very clear that the onus of proving citizenship has been shifted from the state to the citizens, which never happened earlier. It shouldn't happen because it is the responsibility of the state, and it has a body which decides the citizenship. As far as removing the names are concerned, we are talking about 2003 again and again. I think Mr. RP Singh needs to be reminded that in 2001 there was a census, and after that the SIR was conducted. Now 2021 has gone by, the census has not been done, and you are trying to remove names. So clearly, there is no data that you have, and you are just making sure that the BLOs will sit and decide whose name they want to remove, whose name they want to include. And this is something that I'm telling you through experience in Uttarakhand, where the municipal elections took place in January, and the day the elections happened, I said this very thing, that there are floating voters roaming around, and they've come from the panchayat areas, voted here, and they will go back to the panchayat areas where they will vote. And that is exactly what is happening in the state of Uttarakhand. If you check that out and you compare what has happened in Maharashtra and what is happening in Bihar, it is clear that the BJP is trying to remove those valid voters who voted for the BJP.
How is the BJP removing it? And are we to believe that a state which is so politically charged and a Bihari voter which is so conscious of its right to vote will let go of this, and they would believe that they don't have to cast their vote? I don't believe it, because I come from that state. My limited point is, no ma'am, a Bihari voter, if he knows that he is not being allowed to vote, despite having that right to vote, will actually go an extra mile in ensuring that he gets back that right. That's the right of a Bihari voter. While I believe in everything that is being said, but I will not go with the theory that you are floating. Parimal Kumar.
That is exactly what I'm saying, Marya.
Parimal Kumar.
That the Bihari voter has to
Parimal Kumar, go ahead.
the election commission.
Yes, Marya, actually,
their votes are being stolen.
SIR is constitutional under Article 324 of the Constitution. It is legal under Section 21 of People's Representation Act 1950. And actually, who should be given particular right to vote? Actually, under Article 326, there is a provision to cast vote. Actually, this power has been given. And through this power, the people of Bihar and the country exercise the sovereign power. So actually, Constitution provided adequate particularly power to the people of India. They are collectively enjoying the sovereign power. Now see, as far as the question of who will be allowed to vote in India, qualification is well laid down under Section 16 and 19 of People's Representation Act. Actually, the objective of a special intensive revision is to include legitimate voter and to remove or delete illegitimate voter, and the qualification is well laid down. As far as the question of RJD and Congress is concerned, they have no belief in the Constitution. They again and again particularly blame the constitutional institution and try to divert the attention of the people. I warmly welcome and thankful to the people of India because Election Commission today.
No, but the larger
released
question.
that
No.
more than
I still also do not
voters-
believe
No,
that
no, no,
56.
actually,
No,
Marya,
sir, please
more
listen to
than-
me now.
no, more-
56
no,
lakh
no.
names, which
No,
has gone up
yeah.
from the number which was shared yesterday, have been dropped from the draft voters list that will be out on
No,
first.
Marya,
Of
you
these,
see,
20 lakh
actually,
people are
the
dead,
people of the-
28 lakh have
people are-
permanently migrated, 7 lakh
No,
are
I'm
enrolled at
giving
multiple
answer now.
places.
I'm
That's
giving-
why I bring in
I'm
OP Rawat.
giving
Let's have him on the
Marya,
screen now, please. OP
I
Rawat on
am
the screen.
giving answer.
OP Rawat, when
Marya,
a
I am
revision
giving-
happens, which happens usually, which is a part of a practice just before every assembly or Lok Sabha polls, there is a revision which happens, which is done by the electoral officer of that state. But the sheer scale, the sheer number, does it happen at that scale, sir? 56 lakhs that we are looking at here?
Actually, Marya, the difference is that a revision has to take place before every election, but need not be intensive. It could be summary revision. But since it is intensive revision, then there should have been plenty of time available to all those people who are struck off in the final publication so that they can go for redressal to appeal. That time is not there. In 2003, elections were 2 years later.
Yes.
So that time was available. This time, that time is not available. Now, 56 lakhs, 20 lakhs dead, 28 lakhs migrated permanently, and, some odd numbers here and there.
Yes.
First thing is, how do you come to know these things? Because forms are being submitted without any proof of citizenship, without any other document. How can you classify that this many are dead, this many have migrated? And another thing is, if migration is permanent, how do you know that this migration is permanent? Unless all the forms have come with sufficient proof. That is where I think the doubt lingers, and that is what is troubling people.
But Mr. Rawat, you've raised a valid point. Basically, the redressal won't happen because the duration is very less.
Yes.
People don't have time.
Correct.
If their name is out of this list, they don't have time. Where do they go?
Yes, you're right.
So that's the big
No
question
redressal.
here. There's no redressal here. That is the big concern here now. And let me bring in the RJD spokesperson. How is boycotting really something that will help the cause of the people of Bihar who, if they have been removed? Because in that list of 56 lakh who have been dropped from the draft voter list, which will be out on August 1st, there is 1 lakh which remain untraceable. Shouldn't you be taking up the cause of these people? Dr. Shyam.
What to say, such a pathetic condition of the collecting of all the forms. I hope you are well aware, as you have quoted, that you come from the same state. Then no receiving, if you go and track the fine. What is my first take on your question? That what we were raising for a couple of days.
Thankful to the people of Bihar that they showed their depth with test in the democratic setup.
Parimal ji, let him speak, please. Let him speak. You have made your point. You have made your point. Let Dr. Shyam speak. Dr. Shyam, please, on the screen. I've heard everything that you had to say. Dr. Shyam, please, on the screen. Yes.
Well, I will speak very less and to the point, not much. So when I first take on that what you are talking, that you see, for example, that receiving what these people are getting, what we were raising for a couple of days and in fact months, the TDP, JDU MP, what they are talking, you just have heard, and Honorable Supreme Court has taken note of it, and Bihar is a political state. People have gone outside. The moment they will come in the October, November, that is a festival season also, and if their name is not there, then what will happen, you can easily understand. With regard to the SIR of 2003, which is always quoted in the discussion, I just want to add very important fact with that it was well discussed with the various political parties in the 2003. And when BLO was going to find out the voters, they have EPIC, they have data, they know, tick lagana tha, they are not there. That was a big enough. But this time, all of a sudden, Election Commission of India came on the surface and they were starting the process. I respect Election Commission of India, but couple of times how constitutional bodies
point
have
that has
become
been
political.
made by O.P. Rawat will be perhaps the takeaway here, that all those people who have been removed from the list, do they have a redressal? And is there enough time to ensure that if they have been wrongly
Marya,
removed,
can I
they can
answer
find
that?
their way back to the list? And the difference between 2003 and now is that in 2003, there were 2 years to go for the assembly elections in 2005. This time, we are looking at an assembly election perhaps in the end of October and the beginning of November. R.P. Singh, O.P. Rawat, Sujata Paul, Parimal Kumar, and Dr. Shyam, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. That's all from me on this edition of The Last Word. I'll be seeing you tomorrow. Vishnu Shom joins you next.
Finessa Windows, beautiful and durable designs, इंस्टॉलेशन से मेंटेनेंस की लाइफ लॉन्ग कस्टमर सर्विस। आपके घर में फिनेस्टा नहीं है तो कॉल कीजिए।
Find Finer Finesta.
Well, in the latest episode of Control All Defense, we are talking about a platform that all of you want to hear about, that's Tejas. The big question, we do know it's a great platform, but is it of use for the Indian Air Force going into the future? How relevant will it remain?
जनता के पास सवाल ही सवाल है। जवाब ढूंढने को वो देखती है न्यूज़ और देखती है यहाँ तो सवालों का मायाजाल है। ऊपर से ये अलग फाइट है, कोई पूरा लेफ्ट तो कोई पूरा राइट है। बीच में मुद्दे के साथ कौन है, जनता को जवाब चाहिए। इसीलिए सवालों की परेड नहीं, मैं लाऊंगा खबरों की कचहरी। मैं शुभांकर मिश्रा, मेरे साथ देखिए कचहरी रात 8 बजे सिर्फ NDTV इंडिया पर।
Good evening, welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu Shom. On the programme this evening, in a significant development, Prime Minister Modi has agreed to face questions from the opposition in a heated parliamentary debate on Operation Sindoor, India's military response to the Pahalgam terror attack. The debate next week will cover the attack, the subsequent exchange of missiles with Pakistan and the ceasefire that followed. Tensions are high as the opposition has red flag claims by the US President Donald Trump, who repeatedly took credit for brokering the ceasefire, despite India's clear statement that the cessation of hostilities was negotiated directly with Pakistan. Earlier today, the Prime Minister hailed Operation Sindoor as a Vijay Utsav, a victory celebration praising the Indian military strength and precision. We'll be talking about that, but next up on the show, and this is the bulk of Left, Right and Centre this evening, speaking about the Prime Minister Modi is now on his way to the United Kingdom, where he'll sign the landmark free trade agreement with the United Kingdom tomorrow. It is a very big deal, boosting bilateral trade by an estimated $25.5 billion by 2040. Signed on the 6th of May 2025, it's now being finalized. It slashes tariffs on 90% of British goods, such as cars, even whiskey, and 99% of Indian exports like textiles and jewelry. It promises job growth and economic growth as well. Amidst global trade tensions, this pact signals India's openness to business and strengthens UK-India ties, with trade expected to double to $100 billion by 2030. But we're going to move on now to what's been a long-standing demand of the opposition and something the Prime Minister will personally take on, a debate in Parliament on Op Sindoor. I'm joined by Colonel Rohit Chaudhary, Chairperson and ex-Servicemen's Department of the All India Congress, and Gopal Krishna Agarwal, spokesperson of the BJP. Colonel Chaudhary, let me come to you first. Are you satisfied about the fact that the Prime Minister will respond to all the issues which the opposition has been demanding?
Yes, it is very important. Look, national security is most important aspect of our country. If the national security is all right, borders are safe, then all of us are safe. Whatever has happened in Pahalgam, Congress party and the entire India bloc, all opposition parties threw their weight behind the government and expressed their solidarity with the security forces and gave a blanket go-ahead to the government to do anything against the terror, perpetrators of terror against our boundaries or against our nation. Now it is very important that the Ops Sindoor has finished, or maybe it has been paused from 7th to 10th of May it happened, but it has been temporarily.
No, but Colonel Chaudhary, what is it that you seek? We all know the end outcome of Ops Sindoor was one where India decisively had a military edge, right? Pakistan came to the negotiating table. So what is it that you seek information on?
See, the important aspects are the accountability of 22 April Pahalgam attack.
26,
what
yes.
were the security,
26
intelligence,
dead, yes.
operational failures? 40 minutes of terror attack. We have never seen in our history or in our we have never experienced it.
Okay, no, so that's a valid point, and let me get a response from Gopal Krishna Agarwal before I go back to you. Colonel, hold on. I'll come back to you, make the rest of your points, but I want to give him a chance to speak as well. I do believe it is a valid point to ask questions about those responsible for the 26/11 attacks. The fact is, till date, they've still not been hunted down. But you know, what does this say about our relative vulnerability to terrorism from Pakistan even now? Do you not believe that this is a valid point that does need to be debated?
Surely, when Operation Sindoor will be discussed, all the points will be discussed. Government will come up with whatever the intelligence issues are there. But we also have to understand what is the opposition's role during Operation Sindoor and post Operation Sindoor. That also should come out in the front of the country. The way opposition leaders have been talking and questioning our army, their government approach, and then their statements were being leveraged by Pakistan and China. So all these issues and our undermining our national security, army, defense, etc. at global international platforms.
So specifically, Mr. Agarwal, what you're referring to and what you object to are remarks made by some opposition leaders on losses in the Indian Armed Forces during this operation. Is that what you're referring to?
Including that, and otherwise also they were questioning when the issue about the US intervention, when the Prime Minister has
so 2 points over there. Let's get
some of the what I want to tell is there are several issues with the Operation Sindoor where opposition role was not conducive to the national interest. That also
all right. Okay, so let's talk about those 2 points. Number one, the extremely controversial one, Colonel Chaudhary, about potential losses sustained by the Indian Armed Forces during the operations. The counter perspective to that, and as a soldier yourself, you know perfectly well, sir, that when there is war, when there are military operations, there will be losses. You take the losses and you continue fighting. Therefore, is there not a danger if the losses suffered by the Indian Armed Forces, or potential losses, I should say, as a theme is politicized?
Right. I would like to put the things straight. In the facts are not correctly brought out by my colleague. I would like to say that the Congress party and the all complete India bloc or the opposition threw the weight behind the government. That is one. They have never questioned the work of the operations done by our defense forces in Operation Sindoor. It is, and during this portion of Operation Sindoor, all parties, they kept away from any criticism or any questioning on any aspect. Now, once the Operation Sindoor is finished or is over, it is the duty of any operation, it is the duty of the government And as a soldier, we also carry out
No,
the
but Colonel
stock-taking.
Chaudhary, that's
What have we
factually
got?
incorrect.
What have we lost?
Your
What have we
own
learned?
party has raised question marks, repeatedly highlighting what the US President Donald Trump has said about apparently ending the... So this was when Operation Sindoor A has not ended. But these questions have been constantly coming. Secondly, there have been questions which have been raised on losses by the Indian Armed Forces. Right?
Now, kindly let me complete. Now, once the operations are over, it is the responsibility of the government to come
Operation
out
is
very,
not
very
over,
clearly.
sir.
It is, you say it is paused. As of now, there is a ceasefire existing, and the ceasefire has come from 20,000 kilometers away from our borders. US President has announced ceasefire. It has never happened in the history. We are questioning because the statements have come from the CDS in Singapore, then our defense attaché, Captain Shiv Kumar in Malaysia, and Deputy Chief also. They are saying that and External Affairs Minister. So all these statements have to be corroborated.
No, but Colonel Chaudhary, and then I'll come to Mr. Agarwal after that. Let's just deal with these issues one by one, sir. When you talk about statements made outside, this government has repeatedly said, and we have been reporting this diligently on the basis of briefings which have taken place by the armed forces as well, that it was Pakistan that came to the ceasefire table, and on the basis of that, India decided not. So, irrespective of what Donald Trump says, who do you believe more? Our government or Donald Trump? Question number one.
Look, I have quoted 4 things. Donald Trump, External Affairs Minister, CDS, Deputy Chief, and Captain Shiv Kumar.
No, but they are talking on different issues, sir.
Yes,
one is about purported losses by the
that.
Indian Armed Forces, and the
to
other
that.
issue is on what Donald Trump has said. So I'm asking you about Donald Trump because the government has clarified.
I would like to give you a holistic answer. First, if you are asking about Donald Trump, 25 times he has come out and he has said that he has enforced ceasefire between the two countries.
So you would rather believe Trump than the government of India, because the government of India on record has explained the sequence of events.
Then that is what we want in the parliament.
All right, okay.
Prime Minister
So
to answer.
we will deal with this first, and then the other point on purported losses. But let me take that back to Mr. Agarwal. Donald Trump has been repeatedly saying, in fact, I think in the last 24, 48 hours, he's again said it. What the Colonel says is a fact that he claims that he's brought an end to a war which could have become a nuclear war. India says that it is Pakistan that came to the ceasefire table. When the opposition says they want clarity, do you believe it's a valid question, or do you believe that they're politicizing something which we have put our position clearly out on?
No, there are two issues. One thing is that the same statement, they want it to be on the floor of the parliament. That is one issue that they can ask for, and definitely government, defense minister or prime minister, whoever answers, they will deal with the question and answer. But the thing is, the opposition role is that they are believing what Donald Trump has said. At these kind of conflict, everybody knows that so many countries say something, so several things, but the prime minister and everybody, the foreign minister, defense minister have clarified so many times that anybody may have said that you don't fight, but that means the suggestion, Indian leadership is strong enough to take decision in the national interest, and we are a sovereign country. We don't go by what other countries say. And the second important part is the Operation Sindoor is still going on. It has been very clarified at several times. And the important issue, why they cannot do the positive side of it, when the Prime Minister, Government of India says that any act of terror will be considered as an act of war. The US has now, TRF has been declared an international terrorist organization. These are important issues. Our team in that, the several delegations went to different countries to get support. So important thing is that we at any time it was a strong reaction, and how much defense establishment of Pakistan were nullified.
Okay, 1 second, Colonel
So
Chaudhary.
why can't they talk? Question is, only statement of Donald Trump is important for them.
But he did
Indian
speak about
clarification is not
something
important.
else also. Just 1
India
second.
destroying their centers.
Got it. Colonel Chaudhary, let me come to him first.
Being talked about.
Yeah.
So the intention
No,
and
1 second, sir.
is anti-national.
Gopalji, 1 second, please. Let me ask the questions. You made your point. Colonel Chaudhary, the other point that you spoke about are purported losses of to the Indian Armed Forces. You point to what a naval attaché or the military attaché, India's naval attaché in Indonesia had to say. You've spoken about remarks made by the Chief of Defence Staff. But the key point over here is that in the case of losses, apparently, that the Indian Air Force sustained, it has been clarified that everybody walked out of there. In other words, we didn't lose lives as a result of that, right? Number one. And I'll start once again by that question I asked you. As a soldier, sir, you know that when there is a war, and this was a mini war, there are losses which take place. Men and women die. That's an unfortunate reality of conflict. So therefore, why raise questions about that? I mean, what is it that your party seeks to do? Try and understand the tactical and operational basis upon which the Army, Air Force, Navy operate. Is that something to be debated in Parliament and questioned?
And why Pakistan loss is not being appreciated?
Colonel Chaudhary?
Yes. See, the thing is that when we went to war on the night of 6th and 7th of May, and just before the start of our operations, External Affairs Minister, he went on the record and he says that, you know, at the start of the operations, we informed our adversary, our counterpart, that we will be attacking only the terror camps and the Pakistan military can stay away, which they have not chosen to do.
No, but he said that he's been misunderstood in that statement,
we
sir.
have lost. That is the surprise we have lost.
So he's clarified that, sir.
Second thing is, CDS says very clearly that it is not important that how many losses we suffered and why we suffered is more important. So it corroborates very well with the External Affairs Minister's statement.
Sir, the External Affairs Minister has clarified this. He has not said that Pakistan was told beforehand that we are going to attack them.
Right. Coming on to Captain Shiv Kumar, he says that we certainly lost some aircraft. So I accept it. I accept it in the war. There will always be losses on both sides. They are also professional army. There will be losses. But our political top brass, they came on record and they said that there were no losses sustained or
They've
took
not
place.
said that, sir. There have been armed forces press conferences.
I would like to comment. I would like to state that there are 10 soldiers who have died during the operations. Out of them, 2 are Agniveers. There are certain more losses. So we want the government to come out.
Okay, you want a number on the losses. I think that's a fair point. I do believe that's a fair point. Let's see if those numbers do exist.
Why those things have happened, that is also very important to be debated, to be known to the nation.
Okay.
That what were the strategies which went wrong, and most important is the military objective of destroying nine terror camps was exceedingly well, and it was done very meticulously. But there were 150 more terror camps, they were existing. We have lost out on them. Now coming on to the political
but sir, hang on, sir. Did you seriously expect India to launch an attack on 150 terrorist camps?
Look,
what were you looking at? Were you looking at an all-out war between India and Pakistan, or one which was proportionate and one where India stopped expanding the scope of when Pakistan came to the table?
See, it does not matter. When we are...
Sir, we are nuclear-armed nations. We are fighting a conflict underneath that umbrella.
Look, Vishnu, we are a professional army. We have got the standing army, which is much larger and much bigger. We have a huge might. 1971 operation, we have shown it, and we have, bifurcated Pakistan into 2. This was the time we had initiative. We had the political will.
The initiative to take out 150 terror camps.
Look, when you are deciding, what I'm saying is that we our military was given only 9 targets. They could have given more, and we would have achieved.
You said that they should
And for
target
the last
150.
4 years,
Is that realistic?
One more important point. Last 4 years, the entire BJP top brass, all leaders across the country, they've been saying that POK lekar aayenge. This was the time we could have.
All right.
done
So
that.
you believe that
And
we should
on
have gone
10th
into POK on this
and 10th
particular occasion.
and 10th
All right. Okay,
and
sir.
10th
Sir, your
just-
time
just
has
last
ended.
point.
I have only
Just
1
last
minute
point,
left.
Vishnu.
Gopal Krishna
Vishnu,
Agarwal, you have 1 minute to make your final point before I move on. Go ahead, sir.
I just want to ask my panelists is that for more than 60 years and UPA ruled this. What was their response to the terrorism? Now they are showing such valor. There is a marked difference in the way the terrorism attack from cross border are tackled now. Definitely terrorism is an issue for India. But how do we react? How do we take Pakistan onto the task? And our defense capability has been established. Global level, our defense industry has been hailed for such advancement into our capabilities. So what I want to just say is, they just have a negative attitude for the country's defense capabilities, in national interest.
All right.
Why can't they celebrate whatever
All
is
right.
possible?
So we should
There are
celebrate as well.
definitely, as you
Okay,
said-
gentlemen, the Prime Minister in a couple of hours will be reaching the United Kingdom. We do need to talk about that UK-India free trade agreement. As far as this discussion is concerned, thanks for joining me. Well, the Prime Minister is now on his way to the United Kingdom, where he signs that landmark free trade agreement with the UK. It's a landmark deal boosting bilateral trade massively. We bring you this quick story on what it's supposed to be all about.
A whirlwind 4-day visit with 2 strategic pit stops. Prime Minister Narendra Modi travels to the UK and Maldives from July 23rd to the 26th, blending trade diplomacy with geopolitical recalibration. In London, Prime Minister Modi will sign a landmark India-UK free trade agreement, the first major post-Brexit deal for Britain and a big-ticket win for Indian exporters. The pact slashes tariffs on 99% of Indian goods headed to the UK, while opening India's booming market to British cars, whiskey and more. 3 years of back and forth and now the ink on paper. The FTA promises to turbocharge bilateral trade and deepen the economic embrace between New Delhi and London. Beyond commerce, this visit signals stronger strategic alignment from cybersecurity to climate action and a shared vision for an open Indo-Pacific. From London, Prime Minister Modi heads to Male. He'll be the chief guest at the Maldives' 60th National Day, a symbolic gesture but one steeped in political meaning. This marks his first visit under President Mohammad Muizzu and the first since rocky diplomatic waters stirred by the India Out campaign and the island nation's pivot towards China. Once hailed as the cornerstone of India's neighbourhood-first policy, ties with Male hit turbulence. Now Prime Minister Modi's trip is being seen as a reset, a chance to rebuild trust, reaffirm maritime cooperation, and re-anchor India's strategic footprint in the Indian Ocean. President Muizzu's visit to India last year hinted at a thaw. Modi's presence now sends a strong message that despite differences, diplomacy endures. With Ridhima Kedia, Kargi Rawat for NDTV World.
Well, joining us now, 2 very special guests, Yashwardhan Kumar Sinha, former High Commissioner of India to the United Kingdom. We are also joined by Arun Maira, former member of the Planning Commission of India. Thank you, gentlemen, very much for being with us. Mr. Sinha, we'll talk about that free trade agreement in a moment. But the elevation of the India-UK relationship to a comprehensive strategic partnership, it's deepened cooperation in so many areas. The economy, for sure, but defense, technology and climate initiatives. How do you believe that a free trade agreement is actually going to take the relationship with the United Kingdom to the next level?
Well, thank you, Vishnu, for having me. I think the free trade agreement is just one component of the enhanced comprehensive strategic partnership. In fact, if you recall, on the 4th of May 2021 when Prime Minister Modi and the then Prime Minister Boris Johnson had a virtual meeting. They had identified a roadmap for 2030. And that roadmap essentially had 4 pillars. That was basically health, trade and investments, defense and security, climate change and clean energy. Now, they also announced that there was a declaration made for an enhanced trade partnership, which obviously included an FTA. So I think while negotiations have taken 3 years, at least the formal negotiations, actually this was in the making for many, many years before that. And I recall in January 2018, the then Commerce Minister, Mr. Suresh Prabhu, and his counterpart, Liam Fox, had initiated a joint trade review during the 12th Joint Economic and Trade Talks. So I think the interest on both sides for an FTA was always there. As far as the strategic partnership is concerned, obviously there are more elements than just trade and investment.
Okay.
But I think this visit provides that opportunity.
Mr. Marya,
try and
Mr. Marya, free trade agreements are important for broader purposes as well. This obviously helps the India-UK equation, but we've got a free trade agreement. We're looking to firm up with the United States. This is something that we have firmed up. How is this absolutely essential in aligning with India's larger development goals?
Thank you, Vishnu, for having me on this show with you. And it's a very important question that you've asked. But firstly, let me say I'm welcoming this free trade agreement because it's going to help me to live happily, healthily, longer. I've been advised by doctors that after 75, one should have a good scotch every evening. And now it's going to be much cheaper for me to be able to live happily longer. So I welcome this free trade agreement.
I think all 3 of us can agree on that, but moving on, yes.
Yes. This free trade agreement, I want to make this point, is a landmark in the global history of trade and industrialization, in the global history of industrialization and trade. And let me explain how and why. David Ricardo introduced the case for free trade a couple of centuries ago with the example of Portugal exporting port wine to the UK and allowing the UK to ship manufactured textiles to Portugal, okay, and said, well, let the Portuguese keep, producing agricultural stuff, the port wine, and send it to the UK. And while the UK was busy in industrializing, getting more highly skilled jobs, producing more complex manufacturers and exporting them to Portugal. And his thesis was that that's the way it should be, because consumers on both sides would benefit by getting what the other country can produce less expensively and at better quality, like port wine in the climate of Portugal. So here we are. I'm saying that the theory of free trade, that one, which has been continuing and has got aggravated in some ways in the last 30 years with liberalization, was consumers will benefit in both countries, all countries, by free trade across borders. But producers means the people themselves who have to produce more, get higher skills, earn more, they don't benefit. And unless they can earn more by getting higher skilled work, they won't be able to afford the good stuff that could be imported into their countries from other countries that can produce it less expensively. So here we are, Vishnu, that since the 1991 liberalization, the country with whom we have grown the largest trade, it's our largest trade partner, is China. But look at the pattern of the trade between China and ourselves, right? And I heard the present economic affairs foreign minister, when he was the ambassador of India to China, tell me and us in the security meeting in Delhi that India was becoming a colony of China, which shocked everybody. And he pointed out that a colony sends raw materials and less skilled products, less skilled requirement products to other countries, the country that imports them, that keeps improving its level of skills and the complexity of what it manufactures and adding more value in its own country and sending it back. And this has become the relationship between India and China. And if I might say so, this has become also the relationship between the US and China.
Sure.
China has grown much faster than us because it has managed industrialization very well and kept trade as just one of the means to help it to industrialize, rather than what has become the thesis for the last 30 years, that the more countries trade with each other, everybody's supposed to benefit. It doesn't happen like that and has not happened for us.
Right. All right, let me just go back to... So hold on one second. I want to keep the strike rotating. Let me go back to Ambassador Sinha. In very simple terms, sir, how do Indians benefit from this? For example, would this result in upskilling, and potentially the involvement of medium and small scale Indian enterprises in the global supply chain as one part of that free trade agreement between India and the UK?
Well, in overall terms, it's estimated that trade, which is $60 billion at present, would go up to about $100 billion by 2030. But specifically answering your question, because 99% of the tariff lines, as far as India's exports go, would be tariff-free under the treaty, and the treaty is not just a treaty covering a trade in goods, but also trade in services, specifically digital trade, financial services, professional services, educational services. There would be a certain amount of spin-off in terms of upskilling our people, especially in manufacturing. However, there has been some apprehension expressed about the MSME sector, that they would be harmed perhaps, or there would be some ill effect of the FTA. I'm not so sure, because I recall when I was in London, we started a program called the Access India program, specifically targeting SMEs. And we had the UK IBC, which was our knowledge partner. And it started off very well. I'm sure the tie-ups have been made and this has continued. But be that as it may, I think the treaty overall, the agreement overall, is very positive. Because if 99% of your tariff lines are going to get into the UK tariff-free, with a very small negative list, a sensitive list actually, they call it of basically pork, chicken, eggs, milk, dairy, etc. That is British. As far as what we are giving, I mean, it's estimated that our exports will go up by 10 billion pounds, while theirs might go up more, because in any case, the trade balance is very much in our favor. So I think this agreement is a win-win for both parties. It will be mutually beneficial. And of course, there are some issues that need to be looked at. The final text is not available. Whatever is available in the public domain that I have seen looks very positive.
Mr. Marya, as strategic partners with the United Kingdom and indeed with the United States, there are critical areas which will impact our economic collaboration going forward. For example, quantum, AI, critical minerals. These have potential global implications. Do you believe that India and the UK, and we've signed something called the Technology Security Initiative in 2024, as part of a strategic relationship, position India and the United Kingdom as really emerging technology leaders in critical areas?
Thank you, Vishnu, for again bringing us back to strategic consequences for India, I want to say, is that we have to become more self-reliant, more independent of other countries with respect to high value-added goods. And defense equipment is certainly one of those. And the hardware of technology, not the software, is the critical thing here. What has happened, I would say, since the liberalization is that India, yes, became the software, the basic software coding giant of the world. But what has China become? It provides all the hardware on which the software has to be used. And this has become the vulnerability of the US itself vis-a-vis China, and of course ours too. So let's concentrate on manufactured goods. And those manufactured goods will include and should include labor-intensive goods. So I welcome this agreement because in the details of it, we are getting low duties or no duties on leather goods, on textiles and garments, on these sort of manufactured goods which require a lot of Indian skills and talent to be used to produce them within India. Within India. And so this is a good step in the right direction. On the other side, what we're conceding to the UK is a reduction in the duties on luxury goods. Okay, Scotch whisky. Second one, on cars, automobiles. But who's going to be the beneficiary? It's a Tata company in the UK. Jaguar Land Rover is the company whose products, Jaguar, have been imported into India, luxury cars. And if the UK luxury made by Indian company there become available to Indians, people who can afford the luxury cars better, that benefits us. And so the Scotch whisky, similarly, I can afford it, but most people can't. It's a good thing. So I just say it's the pattern of the trade, it's the content of it, rather than the volumes. Whose volume is going up and whose volume is going down doesn't explain who's going to benefit. The citizens of which country are going to benefit. We want our poorer citizens who at the moment do not have enough work, value-adding work with higher wages, to be the beneficiaries of this trade agreement. And I see it going in the right direction. Sure. And that's why I said it's a landmark agreement, in that I think we are both recognizing, both sides, that we have to help each other. We have to help each other. And to come to this point about, critical minerals as also the defense equipment, it's a matter of who owns the technologies, not so much who owns the sources of the minerals, because that are God-given, wherever they are. But industrialization is a process of learning to do something that you could not do before. And we have to start learning to do more complex things and not leave it to the countries that own the IPR and do the high value.
I think that's an important point, Mr. Marya, that we need to be doing this ourselves. But Ambassador Sinha, a final question to you. There are hurdles in the relationship as well. It's not hunky-dory. We've had concerns about Khalistanis and sympathizers in the United Kingdom. We've had parts of our High Commission in London attempts to deface it. I think there was an attempt at taking down our flag. These are issues where we'd like to see a lot more in terms of cooperation from the United Kingdom. And one way of looking at it is that, they've just not done enough. Recent racist attacks. How do you look at, these impediments in the relationship?
Well, I think like any other relationship, there are issues that complicate that relationship. And I think you mentioned the Khalistanis. They're, of course, a microscopic minority in the UK, but they do act as an irritant, particularly when they indulge in violence. And what happened, I think it was Independence Day on 2019, when they actually they damaged a window of India House at Aldwych in London, the Indian High Commission. So I think the British authorities have to take this more seriously, because not only do they indulge in acts of violence, but they also cause communal tensions between different communities and living in the UK, and it's in, I think, UK's interest. The second issue, which I think which will be discussed, are the fugitives of justice, the economic offenders who I was personally involved in at least a couple of cases. In one case, we got verdicts right up to the Supreme Court, and then it was held up for some legal hurdle by the Home Secretary refused to sign off. But be that as it may, I think this is one issue which I'm sure Prime Minister Modi will stress on. And the third issue, of course, is cross-border terrorism, because we have seen the UK being soft on Pakistan as far as cross-border terrorism is concerned. They condemn terrorist attacks, but they do not condemn the country responsible or the provenance of those attacks. Sure. So I think that's another issue that will certainly come up, especially since it's soon after Operation Sindoor and the dastardly attack in Pahalgam.
All right, gentlemen. Important this relationship with the United Kingdom. It's a very old relationship, one which impacts so many people. We haven't even gotten around to talking about the human-to-human connect. Students who are such an important part. We leave it there, and we will track this. The Prime Minister a couple of hours or so away from landing in London. We'll take a short break up. After that, my colleague Radhika Iyer in London with a very special panel looking specifically at the free trade agreement and what it brings to millions in the United Kingdom and indeed here in India. That's up next.
Is your business future ready? Join the 13-week strategic ESG certification program for business sustainability and growth for CXO and business leaders by NDTV, Terry, and Zenora. Master global ESG frameworks, gain real-world tools, and lead with impact. Starts August the 23rd. Enroll now and power your business with sustainability.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I
or
hold
CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Some say sport is a matter of life and death. The truth is, it is far more serious than that. Sport is about ecstasy and agony, about pain and suffering, about joy and much more. Some say there's no one better to tell these stories. So here I am. Join me, Marya Majumdar, on India's #1 news network.
A 36-hour non-stop flight by a small pack of B-2s. A lot of other aircraft were also involved, we know that. But let's talk about the B-2 flight itself. They took off from Missouri. 36 hours later, they landed back without once landing. They delivered their bombs 18 hours later over Iran and then came back. How was this possible? Because the Department of Defense says at no point of time on this 36-hour journey was there any reason to believe that they were either detected or reacted to?
Well, they weren't detected, because if they were, then they'd be in some serious trouble. It's one of the most unbelievable missions, one of the most historic long-range strike missions. There were 7 B-2s, which by B-2 standards is a fair number of them. There was deception in the very beginning. There was a sense that some of them were flying west across the Pacific. In fact, they weren't. And even if a few planes were positioned in one area, they were not going to be flying the Pacific route.
That was the big distraction.
On social media said, you see the bombers, they're now flying west, so you know what's coming your way. But no. They flew them east across the Atlantic. There were 125 aircraft in total involved. Refuelers were involved at every stage. There were fighter aircraft which linked up 4th generation and 5th generation planes, 5th generation being stealth aircraft. And then after an 18-hour flight one way, right, shortly before they struck their targets, which was primarily Fordo, using a remarkable weapon which we'll talk about called the GBU-57, 30,000-pound weapon.
Monster.
Before that took place, there were several land attack cruise missiles launched from American submarines and possibly destroyers as well. Possibly in the Persian Gulf, submarines, they don't tell us a location that could be as far out.
The American media says it was one submarine called the USS Georgia.
So again, location, I'm not sure if that would be Persian Gulf, could be the Mediterranean, could be the North Indian Ocean as well. But this is what I found interesting. By the time those land attack cruise missiles, Tomahawks, actually struck their targets in Natanz and Esfahan, the American B-2s had already left. So
hello and welcome. I'm coming to you from central London at a place which celebrates East India's culinary heritage called Chaurangi, and I'm very pleased to share that this round table, rectangular table conversation actually is about the all-important and the landmark deal that is being touted as one which is extremely comprehensive and clearly painstakingly has taken long to about to come to a signatory deal. And to discuss just that, I have with me a panel. Turns out that it's a manel. I have no woman on the panel. Let me go for my left with the introductions. Anuj Chande of Grant Thornton, and he's also the architect of the India-UK tracker, which you've been doing for years now, of businesses. Vish Acharya, who's an educator and an entrepreneur, and also has business interests in the US. Richard Heel, thank you for joining us, chair at UK IBC. Pratik Dattani of Bridge India and managing director at EPC Consultancy. And Praveen, you are an entrepreneur and CEO at Scrum Connect.
That's right.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for making it on a weekday. I know it is a hassle to get around London. And we are discussing just what we are decoding the FTA for our audience. We are trying to understand what this means for me, what it means for you, what it means for India and the UK, and with this lovely embrace that the two great economies are doing, and we know how dynamic the two economies are, what it means for the world. So let's try and get a summary of what the top headlines are, and I will stop talking. So let me go to you, Anuj.
Yes.
Give us the summary of what this FTA is, top headlines.
I think it's a record-breaking FTA, given the fact it's probably the first one that India is doing with a Western nation. It's the third largest one the largest one that the UK has done after Japan and Australia, and it's the first one post-Brexit. So in that context, it's a record-breaking deal, and I think it's. Apart from trade, it's also covering and has knock-on effects on other areas such as investment as well. I think in terms of the key highlights of the deal, I would say trade is obviously the most important one. 90% of UK goods will be duty-free going into India, and 99% going the other way from India to UK. There's going to be ability for digital transfer, data protection from both aspects. On the services side, there's increasing mobility of labour between the two nations, and you've also got the double contribution convention, which again allows for that 3-year social security break on both sides of the country. There's great things for the SME market. It allows UK companies to get into the public procurement market in India. So there's a lot there to be covered. But obviously the devil is in the detail, which we'll see tomorrow after it's signed.
Sure. That's already a great deal of detail, but there's a lot in the sense there's a lot of exchange of people, ideas, exports. Will that mean physically, Richard, we will see a lot of changes in the sense a lot more of made in Indias that we'll be wearing perhaps, because textile is a big part of it, and a lot of British made items on the streets of India?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I mean, I agree with Anuj that there is going to be a substantial impact. You talk about textiles, obviously that is going to, as a major import into the UK from India, we'll see that increase. In areas like pharmaceuticals as well, there will be an impact there as well. And I think that on the other side, you're looking at areas like technical machinery. We talked about the procurement, allowing procurement to take place. Obviously, bulk imports of alcohol into India is going to stimulate domestic production and technical developments in that area as well. So I think, and also luxury goods, luxury cars, for instance, there's going to be a cap there. So I think that we are going to see an increase in the impact of Indian imports here in the UK, and we're going to see an increase in the level of imports from the UK into India as well.
Pratik, how is the business community viewing this? Obviously, there's a great deal of optimism, but what is the real buzz? Is there a sense that markets and making and manufacturing, all of this is going to improve, or is it more of a, yeah, fine, the headlines are looking great, but let's wait to see what it has?
Yeah, the UK figures show that bilateral trade will increase by 28 billion, but over a 10-year period. So it's not that from tomorrow we'll start benefiting, it will take some time. UK companies accessing things like the £38 billion public procurement market in India, that will take many, many years for that to actually come to fruition. India will still remain a difficult place for British companies to engage in that procurement process. But I think, to Richard's point, what's really exciting is with these government-to-government trade deals, quite often it just feels like something that will impact other people rather than yourself. But once you see the Made in India products here more on the high street and the Made in Britain products more in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities in India, that's when it becomes real for people. And that's when the momentum really kind of starts. And that's where the textiles, the apparel, the footwear is really important, because that's where people on the UK high street will suddenly start seeing India's name much, much more.
The governance and the compliance, perhaps, which is something that India can tap into. Because we're talking so much about Washington and the US, you have business in the US, and it's a deadlock between India and the US with the trade deal not being so imminent, clearly. But what is the buzz among businesses in the US? Are they watching the deal with great enthusiasm? Is there a sense of envy at all?
Yeah, the buzz is there, definitely. And then, yes, and the word you used, envy, is also there.
Really?
Yeah. And quick thoughts which were coming up were because of this facility where there is no necessity of subsidiary to operate, in India for UK companies and vice versa. When some of them are contemplating that, yes, they could establish something in UK to get the access to India. That was one of the key point which kind of flashed, by some people.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then the broader, conclusion was this deal was sounding like a perfect one, and they have perceived that it's not just built on, some calculations, but based on trust. Because, it took quite some time to, get to this stage, and the kinds of sectors they've opened up to, and the kinds of, tariff-free things, right? Like 140% to 40% for alcohol. Yeah. It's quite some time.
Yeah, it's significant.
Significant, and then 10% tariff on things. So these things are being pursued very.
It takes trust. Yeah. Great point. It takes trust. Praveen, what changes for you as an entrepreneur?
I think there are a few points which Anuj and Pratik mentioned is access for UK SMEs to Indian procurement SMEs. So again, devil is in the details. We'll have to see what comes out, but that's a big win-win. And likewise, from India perspective, they get the visa circulations. It means easier for businesses here that we can hire people. So I think I'm personally excited, but lots of people in India, especially the Indian men, would be happy with the whiskey prices going down. So I think that's the big headline. I think the Indian people will be waiting.
Yes, can't keep whiskey out of the conversation at all, in any conversation, but particularly this one. One word.
I think ambitious and trend-setting globally.
Excellent. Great point.
I'd say future fit. It allows flexibility to develop into the future.
Okay, great.
Deal based on trust.
Trust, great. Okay.
It's the beginning of the journey.
Okay, a beginning of the journey, yes.
Leverage and execute fast.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Expedite action,
Leverage each
basically.
other's strengths and execute fast, like Richard said.
Yeah. Get what's best for each other. Thanks so much, gentlemen, for those lovely comments and sharing your mind space on the deal, on the fact that the two prime ministers are going to sit across each other on a table to share a cup of tea, discuss the fine details, and perhaps just get on to sign it. Radhika Iyer signing off from London, NDTV.
Gaurav Sengupta, let's step back to the macroeconomic lens. The headline goal here is to double trade to $120 billion by 2030. So based on current trends, how realistic is that, and what sectors do you think will drive it?
I would stay away from trying to actually question the target. It's good to set targets. Whether we'll be able to achieve it is a combination of a lot of factors. Right now, the export market is very, very volatile. We've got tariff uncertainty unleashed by the current US regime. We are also facing a much slower global economy and a highly volatile environment. But what's good about the agreement, as the previous panelists mentioned, that almost 99% of Indian exports to the UK will become duty-free. India has also reciprocated on majority of its imports from UK, which will be around 90%, which will be duty-free. On a net basis, this will benefit India because we have a net trade surplus with the US. And also the fact that this agreement also covers some parts of the services segment, which is also key. This basically ensures or tells you that this is going to be the way forward. In a way, this is an unintended consequence of the Trump trade war that was unleashed by the US. Is the fact that it has given a sort of a momentum to bilateral trade agreements between countries with, let's say, excluding the US, but you are beginning to see that this year, India has been able to reach agreements bilaterally with many other trading partners, though these agreements were under discussion for years. These are not agreements that started the talks in 2025, which has been the case with the trade agreement with the US, but these agreements have been under discussions, under talks for years. And the good part is that we're going to see more such agreements. It also indicates that the tariff barriers is going to be much lower, especially for the merchandise exports. Obviously, when you have lower import barriers, it also means your domestic industries will have to compete at a level with our external partners because you're not getting the tariff protection. So your companies will be forced to become more efficient, cost effective, better quality. Also, we'll have to move up the value chain.
Sure.
So all of this increased competition will spur that movement up the global value chain. So in a way, this is the right way to go. Rather than creating barriers, this is the sort of bilateral agreements that India is trying, especially with, let's say, the EU, which is a much larger trading partner for India. For example, UK is around 3% of our total exports. It is a significant partner, but it's 3% of our exports. So this is basically, I would say, a blueprint of what you can expect, and that what we are actually seeing with India's negotiation with other trading partners. What I would like to get to know is how they're going to manage the agriculture segment. In the case of the UK deal, it's not too much of an issue because the UK accounts for just 2% of our total agriculture exports. So it's not that big a problem. But how they tackle the agricultural exports with other countries, that is yet to be seen. That's one of the sticking points that we are hearing could be between the India and the US deal.
Absolutely, absolutely. Definitely a sticking point across the board, and thanks for that very nuanced perspective. Ajay Sahai, you speak to Indian exporters on ground every day. Which sectors do your members expect to benefit the most? Textiles, pharma, gems and jewelry, or are there any new winners in this deal?
In fact, if you look into the profile of India-UK trade, this is dominated by the services, unlike our overall trade, where merchandise sector account for roughly 55%, services 45%. In India-UK trade, services are dominant factor accounting for roughly 58% and goods around 42%. So we are seeing much more growth in exports, and that's why I firmly believe that the target of $120 billion is easily achievable, as in the services it's quite easy to clock the double-digit growth as against the goods exports. But when it comes to the goods exports, probably in the employment-intensive sectors, we will be much gainer, because whether it's footwear, whether it's textile, gems and jewelry, toys, sports goods, marine products, they are contributing a lot in India-UK trade. Though, of course, we are exporting auto component, organic and machinery also. So probably the labor-intensive sectors will gain a lot, but I'm also pinning my hopes on the services, not just on the IT and IT-enabled services, but financial services, professional services like architecture, engineering, as well as the other services. I'm pretty sure that with these kinds of growth in the services, probably the target will be quite easy for India to achieve so far exports are concerned.
ना इस दीवार पे इतने इश्तहार चिपके हैं कि कोई दरार नज़र नहीं आती। मैं उन लोगों में से जो कहता हूँ सारे इश्तहार फाड़ के फेंको, पहले दरार को एड्रेस करो।
ये दरार इसलिए क्योंकि कुछ लेफ्ट कुछ राइट, पर हम उन मुद्दों में आपके साथ जिनसे आपकी फाइट है। डिजिटल से देश समझा, अब टीवी पर समाधान लाना है। आइए मेरे साथ खबरों की कचहरी में सिर्फ NDTV पर।
The big Bharat-Britain deal is done. India and the UK all set for history. The big India-UK trade deal loading. The biggest Modi-Starmer handshake. With me, Radhika Iyer for NDTV World.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I'm bringing that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti, also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
India's IT capital is always bustling, a city full of startups, stories and surprises. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
But I'd like to start this off by asking you, Vishnu, what you think about the whole question of India not having stealth fighters right now.
It's a huge
Everyone's
problem.
trying to sell them to us as well.
It's a huge problem, Shiv. Let's face it, in as much as we love the Rafale aircraft and the Indian Air Force is completely vouching for it, perhaps they'd like more than 100 more. The Indian Navy has just gotten into an order for 26 Rafale M aircraft. There is a generation gap between the Rafale and the stealth. There is a good reason why a stealth platform is called a 5th generation aircraft and a Rafale is a 4th or 4.5 generation aircraft, and that is low observability. So in as much as the Rafale has brilliant sensors, both in terms of its radar, its defensive suite, its electronic warfare suite, its towed array decoy system, it is not typically a low observability platform in quite the same manner in which a stealth aircraft is. Its design form is different. And therefore, if Pakistan does have low observable aircraft, which would be the J-35, in fact, the first ones might even start entering service or coming into the PAF ahead of entering service at some time this year, then India is in trouble.
So
Why?
this year? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first could actually start coming in this year. They're really pushing for it. And they've gotten apparently into some agreement with the Chinese to ensure that the funding is done on very loose and terms favorable to Pakistan, as has been in the case in the past. If Pakistan starts acquiring low platforms which are low observable, in other words, stealth platforms, then that's an additional headache for the Indian Air Force, because tracking stealth aircraft requires a certain specialization. It's much more difficult. The time that you have to actually engage a potential stealth target is reduced greatly, and therefore, it's a problem.
Vanakkam Tamil Nadu.
Now the battle for Tamil Nadu 2026 is open now.
After Chief Minister Stalin rolls up his sleeves and Vijay steps in as a star challenger.
This is a mass gathering, not for cash. Meanwhile, a former Chief Minister, Edapadi Palanisamy, begins his fight back.
The big comeback campaign by EPS has well and truly begun.
These are all the ultimate players, and this is going to be the ultimate test.
The big Bharat-Britain deal is done. India and the UK all set for history. The big India-UK
Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV. I'm Aditi Bhardwaj, and don't go anywhere, because in the next few hours we'll tell you what's happening during the visit of the Prime Minister to the United Kingdom and what's on the agenda. But before that, let's take a look at the top headlines we're tracking here at this hour. All eyes on who will be the next vice president after Jagdeep Dhankhar. BJP chief JP Nadda met Ramnath Thakur, who's son of late Karpuri Thakur, and all eyes will be on who will be getting this post. However, Telangana chief minister bats for Haryana governor Bandaru Dattatreya. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is now on his way to the United Kingdom, where he will sign the landmark free trade agreement with the UK, a landmark deal boosting bilateral trade by an estimated euro 25.5 billion by 2040. India-China hold talks on border affairs. Both sides satisfied with peace in border areas. India-China agree to maintain regular